A very good evening and welcome to the 8 o'clock news bulletin. We are coming to you live from Hospital Hill in Babane. I'm Lungilile Makakula. First, let's take a look at tonight's headlines. Malama Kaleri has pledged to build 4 houses at Philani Maswati's elderly home in Fogolwago. The Prime Minister says HIV still matters even at a time when the country is facing one of its toughest health battles in COVID-19. The Deputy Prime Minister says for parliamentarians to help their communities on issues of abuse, they need to know the SODV Act. The news. Malama Kaleri will build 4 more houses at the Fogolwago elderly home. The company revealed this when making a presentation to Lutitini Acting Governor Lusenvo Fagutse at the Lutitini Royal Residence.
The 4 houses to be built by Malama Kaleri will cost the company 180,000 emalangeni. The donation will greatly assist Philani Maswati in taking care of the elderly at the elderly home in Fogolwago. As there will be an additional of these houses, it means that there will be more of Bogogo Nabomkulu staying at Fogolwago. Receiving the donation on behalf of Her Majesty the Ndlovukazi, Lutitini Acting Governor Lusenvo Fagutse said this donation was not just made to Her Majesty, but the company has given to Jesus Christ the Son, who was sent to the people on earth by God.
kusize yena nathi sibhek sakhe kuyeke umdali kuthi lokhu lentanako abusise lalapho kuphuma khona kwanze kuye embili siphile lesive senkosi ngayi lophilani lentangayi.
Making the donation, Malama Kaleri Managing Director Sengiphile Simelane said they are very grateful as a company to contribute towards the great work done by Philani Maswati.
Sithema siyidingisa lenzaba nebaphathi bethu ebhodini kwaba nesicelo lesagcina siphumelelekile sesiphumelele sekuthi inkampani yaseMaloma ikhona ukucontributor nekuthi yakhe indlu leting4 le ekhaya la eNdlovukazi lapho khona isithi abantu labangathi bahluphekile balapha eSwatini. Kube indvo le melula kakhulu ke kithi siyinkampani lokuthi sicabange ukuthi sisebenzisane nayo Philani Maswati ngoba siyayibona soliyasebenza la even umsebenzi wayo uyancomeka kakhulu. iPhilani Maswati isebenta cishe kutotonke tinkundla leti khona lapha eSwatini.
Elderlies and overseas have a huge place in Her Majesty's heart. That is why the Queen Mother strives so hard to take care of these people through Philani Maswati. The nation at large is still encouraged to assist and support this organization. On the news, I'm Polile Mazia at Lutitini Royal Residence.
Prime Minister Ambrose Dlamini says HIV still matters even at a time when the country is facing one of its toughest health battles in COVID-19. The Prime Minister said this during the launch of the adolescent campaign HIV Matters during COVID-19. The campaign is focusing mainly on adolescent girls.
The HIV Still Matters campaign was officially launched by the Prime Minister Ambrose Dlamini. The campaign, which focuses on adolescent girls, comes as a result of reports of the increase in the number of young girls falling pregnant during this period as the country battles COVID-19, which is an indication that they no longer protect themselves from HIV. Speaking during the launch, Prime Minister Ambrose Dlamini said over the past 3 decades, the kingdom has put up a brave and emphatic response to HIV and AIDS, and the achievements thereof are evidence of the valiant efforts of all involved in this fight.
Communities in urban and rural areas have been empowered, and more people now access HIV and reproductive health services within their communities. This is an achievement we can all be proud of, though it doesn't mean we should let down our guard. These milestones would not have been achieved without consistent and favorable support from our partners who have provided technical, financial and infrastructural support to ensure the delivery of quality HIV services. Government will enhance its investment to the HIV response in order to reach the ambitious goal of stopping new infections and AIDS-related deaths as set in the vision of ending AIDS by year 2022.
The Minister for Health, Lizi Nkosi, says putting young people in the forefront of health programs is not just rhetoric, as they are the future of the country.
We will do all we can as government and as people of Eswatini to make sure that we provide a safe and healthy environment for you to thrive and to succeed in life.
Nature Council Chairperson Nick Jackson says they choose adolescent girls for this project because HIV, or rather, the HIV infection rate is high among them.
The PLM is using groundbreaking and innovative strategies to reach young people. As we all know, Your Excellency, they're the new generation. They work differently from us. They react differently to us. So we need to be very innovative when it comes to targeting these people.
Other speakers included Hoho Regional Administrator Princess Tanzila and Member of Parliament Jacob Siwela, who all praised the HIV Still Matters campaign. The Prime Minister, together with Cabinet Ministers, then distributed face masks to motorists as government continues to encourage people to continue adhering to the COVID-19 regulations. For Eswatini TV News, I'm Sibusiso Ngubane in Lobamba.
The Portfolio Committee in the Deputy Prime Minister's office from the House of Assembly met on Wednesday to discuss the Sexual Offences and Domestic Violence Act. The Deputy Prime Minister Themba Masuku says this meeting is very important as the committee will be able to gain enough knowledge on laws and ways they can help people in the kingdom.
Portfolio Committee from the Deputy Prime Minister's office in the House of Assembly met together today to discuss laws on the Sexual Offences and Domestic Violence Act and ways in which people of the Kingdom of Eswatini can get assistance. The Deputy Prime Minister Themba Masuku says this initiative is very important as it helps in getting rid of different kinds of abuse at homes, and mentioned that people found guilty in cases are dealt with in the right manner and according to law.
Law show section 195 ukuthi kutakwenteka nakho phinza uchaze ukuthi kuna section 69 nayo lokufuneka ukuthi na center lama regulations lafuneka kulo section 195 sikunake lokhu section 69 wale sort of act. Inkantolo vele tiyawusebenta ba ukabili umthetho igaba letimbili kukhona lolothi the sexual offences kusho ukuthi ngile section le khuluma ngekuhlukumeteka.
John Mavusa from the Attorney General's office explained more about the regulations and ways in which the committee can work properly without any difficulties. The chairperson of the committee, Derek Masuku, says SODB laws do not only assist children but people of all ages, and also mentioned difficulties they are sometimes faced with when dealing with SODB cases.
So ke lo mthetho usita ukuthi kukhona labanye abantwana lokhanza ukuthi sebahlala bodwa sekwashona labadala, so ke bavikeleka ngoba ukhanza ukuthi awusuka thina lesibona ukuthi sinelimasela encanyana bese siyalimisuza lemasela lethu ngokuthi labantwana sesibagilisa tika nekwe ukuthi ke lo mthetho lo mhle ngokuthi uthi wena lobonile kwenteka wafihla nawe kufanele usithole sijeziso.
In the past months, the government of Eswatini provided a report for prosecutors to use when dealing with matters that involve sexual offences and domestic violence. For Eswatini TV News, I'm Temalangeni Dlamini with Muslim Konda Ezulwini.
The Minister of Justice, Polile Chakantu, says she is impressed with the level of preparedness of schools in preparation of Phase 2 for schools opening. She said this when she was inspecting schools in the Hoho region.
The Minister of Education is busy with the preparation of schools opening, which is the second phase in other grades, but with close monitoring of COVID-19 status in the country. The Minister of Justice, Polide Shakanto, inspected schools under the whole region for its readiness for the second phase of the opening of schools, which is Form 3 and later other grades. The minister visited Bahai High School, where she was first shown the isolation room where pupils with symptoms are kept and monitored. The minister was then taken through the classrooms where lessons were ongoing. She says she is impressed so far with the preparations and the level of excitement from both pupils and teachers of getting back to school.
Bothishela bathi sebalungele ukuthi lamanye ama grades angabuya kepha labacela ukuthi akabuye at a staggered pace kumbe kubuye Form 3 sebalungisa amaklasi sebalungisile.
She says she has been informed that at Bahai they have met all requirements and the schools have requested government to open schools with intervals starting with Form 3, but they are indeed ready. She says as government they will be guided by the level of preparedness of schools because pupils' safety is their priority. Bahai High School Principal Mangaliso Dlamini says every morning teachers take turns in screening the temperature for pupils, and if one exhibits high temperatures or has symptoms, they are then taken to the isolation room or sent home for recovery. He praises parents for cooperation on this matter because they do call if pupils are not feeling well, while some use their private cars to bring their children to school to avoid possible contacts of the virus. The pupils also say there are challenges learning under this new normal.
It's very difficult because we can't even talk properly with each other. Plus, we, as friends, we're used to touching each other and hugging each other, and it's so hard now since we have to be separated. And sometimes you don't even know how to tell a person to stay away from you.
It is the Ministry of Education's aim to minimize and eliminate infections amongst pupils as they get back to school. For Eswatini TV News, I'm Kian Msibi, Bahai.
The Minister of Natural Resources and Energy, Peter Bembe, says a government continues to ensure access to clean water countrywide. He said this when he was touring water schemes under the Ndingeni constituency on Wednesday.
The Minister of Natural Resources and Energy, Honorable Peter Bembe, visited 4 water schemes under Ndingeni constituency on Wednesday. This follows the revival of the schemes after a long time of non-functioning. The minister says this is one way government proves its commitment in providing clean water to eMaswati.
Kulama regulations sifake ukuthi etindaweni leti njengaleti kungenteka sibese sifaka nogezi welilanga kutothi ke kulolo kukhuluma ukuthi ngathi manje ngakhuphuka ngoba lesikubuka ukuthi eMaswati ahamba ehluleke nokukhokha le mali yagesi.
The water schemes through their chairpersons say the availability of clean water nearby will be beneficial to every community member, especially the elderly.
Nakhona sicojeni kuphandle ukuthi sekunetimbongolo kunetinkomo sesinatha nje ke kabuhlungu vele nje beswadzinge kakhulu emandi.
Njengoba ke ngishite ukuthi sinalo ukuthi ke njengoba seyilungile sikhole lokuhamnelisa leduze ukuthi nabogogo nabobanibani bawatholela manje dudane.
Bolanzeni Chief Ndlalo Hlaza Ndwandwe appreciates government's effort in providing clean water to the people.
Khona lapho uhulumende akahlali phasi uyafuna kwadi ukuthi ebulanzeni akhona yini manje banatha yini singababambisa njani.
Natural Resources and Energy Minister Peter Bembe encouraged the water schemes to continue operating in unity to ensure they progress. Provision of clean water is the 6th Sustainable Development Goal, which government of Eswatini is working towards achieving. Reporting for Eswatini TV News is Phumaphi Msweli Nzingeni.
Minister of Sports, Youth and Culture Harris Bulunga says government is committed to assisting the local youth overcome its challenges. The minister said this during the celebration of the International Youth Day, which was held on Wednesday.
At the event held at the Happy Valley in Ezwatini, young people said they need three things from government. That is, an ear that listens, faith and resources. This was said by Sizolwethu Maphanga, who spoke on behalf of the youth.
The only way the government can try to get young people engaged in any issues towards development of the country, they need to enrich the organizations that are in place to look after the youth. They need to try and make sure they meet the mindset and understand how young people operate in order to strengthen their capacity and relevance to achieve global action.
Minister of Sports, Youth and Culture, Harris Bulunga, said government will continue to make the landscape more enabling for young people in the country. He said this included policy making.
One other aspect I picked is that all you want from us is resources. So we're going to try and make sure that resources are forthcoming from the government side, and we also mobilize from our development partners and non-governmental organizations that we work with.
United Nations Population Fund officer in charge, Margaret Twala, says there is a need for meaningful youth engagement, which she described as critical to the country's development. Twala says young people are important in the country's development as well as that of the world.
If we are to take the country forward and attain the 2030 targets, as well as the 2063 targets, we need to double the investment towards youth engagement for national development. Ladies and gentlemen, the number of adolescents living today, particularly in countries most in need of development, means that the generation will largely drive the outcomes of the Sustainable Development Goals will need to be looked into very seriously. They will also allow the ones who can help us Eswatini to move closer to our shared vision for a first world status in 2022.
The Ministry of Sports, Youth and Culture is still working on the youth bill, and it says youth contributions are vital in forming this legislation. For Eswatini TV News, Temigos Mavimbela, Ezwatini.
Acting WHO country representative in Eswatini, Dr. Brian Chirombo, has encouraged countries to come on board in vaccine development for COVID-19. Dr. Chirombo says the more candidates, the more opportunities for success in getting the COVID-19 vaccine. Chirombo was speaking at the UN House in Babane when giving an update on vaccine development.
Currently, over 165 candidates' vaccine are at some stage of development. Of these, about 26 vaccine candidates are in human trial stage, which 3 or 4 are going to phase 3. According to Dr. Brian Chirombo, WHO is developing a global allocation for vaccine and other COVID-19 tools based on fair and equitable access principles.
WHO is working with countries. And there are 3 partners that WHO is working with. Maybe let me highlight that. On the vaccine pillar, they are working with CEPI, which is the Coalition of Epidemic Preparedness Innovations, together with Gavi. You know Gavi, the one that does vaccines, and WHO are working on this vaccine facility. And this is a process to speed up the search for an effective vaccines for all countries.
Dr. Chirombo also revealed WHO's position on Russia COVID-19 vaccine announcement.
We know that the Russian trial has been registered with the Russian Federation's National Medicines Registry, which they announced yesterday. WHO welcomes all advances in COVID-19 vaccine research. We really need everybody to come on board in terms of doing research. So WHO welcomes this initiative from the Russian Federation because we know it's not going to be one country. Remember I mentioned earlier on average, when you do 10 vaccine trials, on average one of them will be successful to produce a safe vaccine that really works.
Emaswati are encouraged to practice all the precautionary measures against the spread of COVID-19 by washing hands with running water and soap, and also avoid crowded places, among others. For Eswatini TV, Sondomlangen with Muzim Konda in Babane.
Director of Health, Dr. Vusi Makakula, says they will engage the army to ensure that people do not cross in and out of the country through informal crossing points, in particular the Shiselweni region. Dr. Makakula says this is to prevent the spread of the coronavirus following reports that the KwaZulu-Natal province might be the next COVID-19 epicenter in South Africa.
There are over 560,000 confirmed COVID-19 cases in the Republic of South Africa, and over 100,000 of these cases are from the KwaZulu-Natal province. This has prompted the government of the neighboring country to intervene and put in place measures to curb the spread of the virus in the province that is a stone's throw away from the Shiselweni region. The government of Eswatini is not resting on its laurels. As Director of Health, Dr. Vusi Makakula says, they have already started planning for the projected increase in cases in the neighboring country.
Quite aware of what is happening in KwaZulu-Natal, that and over and above that, we know that we have a long border with them and with the KwaZulu-Natal, and we know that the borders are sometimes or often porous, which means our people cross to the other side, and I'm sure there are some who cross over into Eswatini. So as we know that the virus is carried by warm bodies, it is also imperative to make sure that we respond appropriately to that. As of yesterday, we had 233 confirmed cases of COVID in the Shiselweni region.
Dr. Makakula says government is also concerned about the increasing fatalities in the country as a result of COVID-19.
Projections which are showing us, which have shown us that this is what we were expecting by late and early August. And true to it, the models were somehow accurate, and we'll continue looking at that. But then that may not be the end of everything, because we do need to be seen to be staying ahead of the virus, and that is basically the best method we can do. Let's ensure that we keep a distance, the physical distancing, continue with the hand washing, and we do encourage the wearing of a mask, because that protects you and it protects the next person should you be ill.
The World Health Organization has always emphasized on the importance of not moving without a reason. This is to stop the spread of the virus. The organization also says the sooner the virus stops spreading, the sooner people can go on with their lives. For Eswatini TV News, Temgos Mavimbela with Kiani Msibi, Mbabane.
The Ministry of Health encourages the nation to engage in body exercising activities to avoid non-communicable diseases like cardiac arrest and stroke, which are one of the leading causes of deaths globally.
Cardiovascular diseases, which are non-communicable diseases, are the #1 cause of death globally, and these include deaths from cardiovascular disease and stroke, and also cardiac arrests. Health specialists encourage physical body exercise to keep the body fit in order to avoid these diseases, where lack of exercise and sometimes overweight can lead to them. Ndombi Kininza, the case management of entities in the Ministry of Health, says change of diet and sticking to a balanced diet can help prevent this. She says government has had educational campaigns to educate Maswati on these non-communicable diseases.
Sibonile nje even kunga 2014 senda lucwaningo lasikhombisa ukuthi sina about 33% webantu labadzala loku 40 years and above.
She says they have also brought closer to all health facilities to Maswati for such programs. An estimated 17.7 million people globally died from these diseases in 2015. 7.4 million of these were due to coronary heart diseases and 6.7 million were due to stroke. They encourage people, especially men, to regularly visit health care for regularly check-ups. I am Kian MCB Visuals, sourced from the internet.
The Minister of Sports, Harris Bulunga, says the renovations of the Somhlolo National Stadium will cost around 40,000 Malangeni. The process is currently in 3 phases, with the first one of working on the dressing rooms expected to be completed by November this year. I report next.
The renovations of Somhlolo National Stadium continue. According to the Minister for Sports, Harris Bulunga, the entire process of the renovation will cost around 40 million Malangeni. Minister Bulunga says the process will be in 3 stages, with the current stage being the first one, where they will be working on the dressing rooms, VIP areas and the holding rows.
And then lesigaba leso sibheke ukuthi nakude lokuthi awuphazamisa labo labasakhelayo ukuthi nakuphela inyanga ya November babe sebacedzile.
The minister says if all goes accordingly, this phase should be done by the month of November, and then the second phase will begin, where the focus will be on the pitch.
Ukuthi nakunemidlalo bantu babhadare bonke emacembu ethu la Sevenza Stadium atawukhona ukuthi azuze ngalokufanele.
The minister went on to highlight that at the moment it will be hard to tell how long the entire process will last and when can the stadium resume to host activities.
Kulukhuni ke lokubeka ukuthi so wonke lo msebenzi utawuphela nini kutaka ngemali esiphakelwa nguhulumende sivumela.
The minister says it is also hard to tell if any activity will take place at this stadium during the course of 2020.
Phazamisekile lo msebenzi. Kepha ke sengafiki kule decision leyo ngalo ukuthi kufuna sibuke nema interest alaba labasebenzisako le stadium.
The renovations began back in March when the stadium was not in the right conditions to host international competitions. For Eswatini TV Sports, Fabrice Msonera, Mbabane.
Apologies for that misinformation. The renovations of the Somhlolo Stadium will cost 40 million Malangeni. Tinyosi Football Club Director Mbuso Dlamini says the decision that will be taken by the National Football Association to either proceed or nullify the 2019-2020 will play a huge impact in the future of the club. Dlamini says they will, however, welcome with both hands whichever they will take. Dlamini was speaking during an event at Lubamba where the club was handing over equipment such as sanitizers and face masks worth around 5,000 Malangeni to its players.
On the 22nd of August this year, the National Football Association will be announcing the decision pertaining to the 2019-2020 football season. Tinyosi FC, that plays under the National First Division, is amongst the clubs waiting to hear the decision. Club Director Mbuso Dlamini says whatever decision that will be taken by the Football Association, it would have an impact on the future of the club. Dlamini says they will, however, accept whichever decision with both hands.
Sifiso sethu was that i-league iphele sitokhona kucedza sibine le league abase sibine league sihambise ka Premier League vele le team ifise lokho. That's what we would like to see.
On another note, Tinyosi have assisted its players with different equipment such as hand sanitizers and face masks in fighting the ongoing coronavirus pandemic. The equipment is worth around 5,000 Malangeni, which is a portion of the 15,000 Malangeni funds that each club from the First Division received from the Premier League package of 700,000 Malangeni that came from the National Football Association to assist clubs and associations in fighting the ongoing coronavirus pandemic. Club players applauded the management for the kind gesture and went on to highlight that they cannot wait for the football season to return.
Hayi brasi ikhanga kakhulu sesinesidungo so sagcina kudlala ngamachi so sinesidungo lesikhulu kakhulu.
Tinyosi was positioned number 2 on the MTN National First Division log behind log leaders Tamankulu Kellys when football activities were suspended back in March. For Eswatini TV Sports, Fabrice Msonera, Mbabane.
We've come to the end of our 8 o'clock news bulletin, but before we leave you, let's take a recap of tonight's headlines. Malama Kaleri has pledged to build 4 houses at Philani Maswati's elderly home in Fogolwago. The Prime Minister says HIV still matters even at a time when the country is facing one of its toughest health battles in COVID-19. The Deputy Prime Minister says for parliamentarians to help their communities on issues of abuse, they need to know the SODV Act. Thank you very much for staying with us. The weather will follow. Have a great evening. Good night.